This is Assassin's Creed Shadows. We're having an early look at the game. Be sure to like the video, subscribing is great as well. So this was a lengthy deep dive into the experience, so I basically cut up the story that I saw with Assassin's Creed Shadows and sort of segmented it in bits here along this extended video. So if you watch the whole thing, it does tell a full sort of tale of a particular chapter in the game. This is a work in progress, as it says in the bottom corner of the screen there. Talking about the game, and then there will be non-commentary gameplay towards the end, so you can just see in action if you want. And I thought I'd give a little bit of both for this particular experience. So here is the season changing. I wanted to highlight at the beginning of the video just a little bit of the diversity and scale of just the environments and the visuals of this game. It was genuinely impressive. So when you're playing this, this does feel like the first, I would say, truly living and changing world of Assassin's Creed. It kind of reminds me of The Witcher 3 meets Forza in regards to an environment where all of the fauna, the plants, basically everything is kind of moving. Characters are doing their thing, but the world itself is very vibrant. It's shifting, it's adjusting. There's wind, there's stuff floating in the distance. Even the forests themselves now have a lot more density. There's leaves on the ground. There's actually like plants and bushes. And then talking about Forza, I'm talking about seasons. So the game, after a set amount of time, actually shifts seasons. So if you're wanted, like my character is here in this season, it'll then shift to a new season eventually, and then you'll no longer be wanted. People will have forgotten about you, I guess. But the idea is that the game, you are doing your typical Assassin's Creed story. It's very much another one of the large open world Creed games. But the world itself is now actually lively, and there's weathering, such as like rain and then windiness and then calm days, and the clouds are going overhead, the trees are rustling, the tall grass is all like shuffling in the wind. It's really, really quite lovely. That's where I was making that Witcher comparison, where that was kind of the first time that I can really remember where I really felt like every part of the environment was alive, and in a game that was like this open role-playing game. So that was the kind of vibe I was getting here. And again, why I'm just really focusing on this is that this isn't something we've seen in an Assassin's Creed game. It feels like an incredibly polished world that you are in. Like, the worlds of Assassin's Creed are typically massive, they're detailed, they're beautiful, but like, that's usually for environments like the tombs or the temples you go to or the main city areas, and then the outer world is just kind of fluff. Whereas in this game, the outer world, actually all the areas I visited feel like really detailed, lively, unique spaces that you can visit and interact with, and there's stuff going on. So the story here is split between the two characters. I did also play an extended kind of opening segment of the game, which was, I think, very purposeful in terms of highlighting the backdrop of these two characters. We're not really supposed to dive into that and spoil things or basically like in-depthly talk about it, but I wanted to mention it just because it does, I think, really highlight the backdrop of these characters in an effective way, and it was really interesting. And I wanted to just say that context is not here in this. This is your typical kind of mission, a main mission in the story, showing how the different characters and perspectives kind of play out. So in the game, you're largely able to choose who you want to play as. We've got two different styles, and this segment here is setting up kind of the beginning of the mission that you'll see sort of split over here. You got to remember, it's like, I've got so much time, and they were very generous in how much footage I could actually show, edited and everything like that. But I was really trying to pick and choose to get the full scope of this mission across, and I think I got it. I think I got it going. Like, it's very lengthy, and then there's other side stuff, and I'm assuming this was unguided too, in terms of like, Creed usually has like a guided and less guided mode, because it was a lot of like, you figure out where you're going and stuff based on clues. But anyways, back to the characters. These are two very, very distinct protagonists in Assassin's Creed Shadows, and they both have different flavors and ways they go about it. This is going to be a lot different than Creed games that you're going to be used to in the past in terms of your characters. She's very weak, as to say, not like weak, she goes and like stabs and kills people and stuff like that, but in comparison to the main male character there, just in terms of your presence, you are a smaller person. Like your screen, you don't take up as much as the screen. We're playing as the guy is like, he literally takes up like the whole screen, and just the scale difference between the two is wild. But I did feel when I was playing as her, it was a lot more of a focus on basically stealth based play. You're not able to directly fight. Like, I felt really weak in terms of combating against other characters. I'm also hoping that that is a bit of, you know, like a level maybe thing too, because it is a little bit more fun to be a stronger Creed character as you, like, you know, become more powerful. It's just like, I really felt like I could not take on more than a couple guys at a time. Whereas our big buddy Yusuke, I hope that's Yasakai, hopefully I'm saying that okay, he's just like such a presence, and he will tank through and kill guys and absolutely decimate foes. It's also sort of funny because, like, it seems like a lot of enemies can't climb, so you can just sit on the roof with your gun and kind of just shoot people, and they just look kind of like confused. If they throw some rocks at you, I thought that was kind of entertaining. And then the female shinobi is Naoi, and they both have different approaches to how they talk and how they do things. Like, if you're choosing to play as the male character, you will, and when you're doing a mission right towards the end of this video, you'll see where it's literally different segments throughout this, like, sort of more cinematic driven area. You will pick, are you playing as Naoi, or are you playing as Yasakai, and you'll basically be choosing, like, do I want to do an approach where I'm attacking, or do I want to do an approach where I'm stealth? And then it allows you to switch that up if you want to. And the game itself, you could choose to change your character at any point while you're regularly just working through the world. You could be like, I want to play as this character, I want to play as that character. From my understanding, there are some segments that are set either way, but then there's other segments where you can kind of choose. And I would assume the suggestion is that you will be able to almost like replay the game to a degree. Like, the replay value would be added because you could switch between characters and get different perspectives on, like, performances and stuff like that. And they do come together, but you get what I'm saying, where there is that potential where it could be a little distinct between them to the degree where you'd replay it and be like, oh, it was a little bit of a different you know, style or approach either way, which I find kind of intriguing. Like, these games are already just so massively, ridiculously large, where I don't know where you'd have the time to do that, but if you do, you know, good for you, I suppose. Definitely good for you on that. So, talking about gameplay, this feels like your typical Creed, typical open RPG, like the RPG style of Creed, so something like, say, Odyssey, Valhalla, and Origins, as opposed to like Mirage, where it's more of a traditional Creed. This is very much your open world to go and do stuff, and it's kind of like endless in terms of scope and everything that you do. I would say that this one has a lot more of a push towards a higher fidelity of cinematic style. Like, the cutscenes are a lot more very visually detailed, they're a lot more lively, they've got more movement and direction to them, which I loved. Story-wise, it seems like they've got some cool stuff set up here. I can't wait to see how that develops, because again, it's very much teasing certain things, and then, like, you know, what I've seen and what you're not able to see and stuff is quite interesting too, in terms of what they're aiming to set up, like maybe a little serpent society kind of thing, and that in itself is quite fascinating. But yeah, the gameplay, you kind of move around, you can be an assassin, you know, you get the option to assassinate. If you're trying to do, like, big fights, you have an arsenal of different tools, you have quick abilities. Apparently, they don't have, like, you can see right here where it's like a Kurosawa kind of, like, stylistic attack thing, but apparently from what I know, there wasn't like settings to actually have that sort of like Ghost of Jima there, where it has like this straight up mode. So I don't know if that'll be a thing for the full game, but as far as I'm aware, he didn't have that. But it's just these quick little style moments, and it'd be cool to play the game with that sort of a visual aesthetic. Would have been really vibing, you know, like black and white and stuff like that, like the old samurai type films. But combat-wise, feels about similar to the other Creeds. I did, like I said, felt a little underpowered playing as an AoE, just in regards to like trying to take out like groups of enemies. It was just like you're not going to be able to do that, at least from what I was sort of seeing. But you get cool things like smoke bomb attack, and then your other buddy there, like he is such a physical presence. Like she is a lot more stealth oriented, a lot quieter, a lot smaller on the screen. And then it's like he's just, or Yazukai, just butchering that. He like literally, when you're moving through the environment, you're like a bull in a china shop, and you can just like take out walls and like carts and people, and you just like run right through them, and he's just like brutal and powerful. And it is interesting, the setup for these two characters, because I will say, like in the past for Creed, we have had multiple perspectives, right? Like you can switch and basically have two sides of the same coin for a character. And there was obviously Syndicate, where it was supposed to be she was more of a stealth character, but she could just club people straight up. So this does seem to me to be the biggest divide I've seen between dual protagonists, in the sense that like they are two characters, they have completely different approaches and styles for combat and conflict, and they're both very interesting to see. So I would say, like, overall, for Assassin's Creed Shadows, I was really quite impressed by what they've put together here. As I was mentioning, from a more technical standpoint, the world is quite striking. And it's very, very much alive. It seems like the most lively world they've ever put together. And I think the potential for that to really be dynamic and exciting and intriguing is exciting to me, because again, we've seen like a fairly large area of the world, but there's a lot more to the game that obviously I wasn't able to see, right? Like these games are very lengthy, they're very chunky games, there's a lot to them, as you are probably aware if you've played any of these recent large-scale RPG Creeds. There's a lot out there to enjoy and a lot to take in. And that's where I was kind of saying, it's like I've seen a piece of it, and the diversity of like the environment is just so refreshing and distinct and unique, and they really have aimed to do like a beautiful thing. We've waited a long time, at least I would say in my opinion, for Assassin's Creed to embrace Japan as an area. It just makes perfect sense, and it is about time that they're finally doing that. And it's good that it still feels fresh, despite the fact that we've had other similar like games, you know, provide the sort of region and setup and style. So it's good that Assassin's Creed can still come in and present something that feels fresh and exciting in this region and not too played out. Which was kind of the worry, where it'd be like, oh, it's, you know, similar to what we've had in the past. So I would say it was very, very positive from that perspective. The combat is quite cool. It's quite brutal, you know, but I wouldn't say anything too different from what we've kind of had recently. So we're doing a swap here, so you can kind of see the character perspective. So you can just like, it's literally like this. You just be like, oh yeah, I'm playing as you. You pop in, and we just kind of start from the same area, and you just keep going, which is kind of cool. The game also has lots of side activities and things as well, which is kind of expected. And there's things like, they have different approaches, so they're both kind of drawing the world around them, but the idea is your character here, he's trying to learn a little bit more of a peaceful, slow vibe, and that's kind of his approach to doing the drawings. And you're supposed to like slowly get in there and that, and it is quite intriguing. And the environment itself, you know, there's creatures and stuff running around, which is cool. But you can see here, like I was saying earlier, just like all the grass sort of flopping and flowing, and the trees all swaying. It's a very, very detailed world, which, you know, it's something where it's like, yeah, a lot of these Creed games, they have lots of details in the cities and stuff like that. But like I said, I've never seen this kind of scale outside in like secondary areas before within this franchise. It's really really quite exciting. It seems like there's gonna be some beautiful areas because I went up like big hills. There was like a quarry. There was a wetlands. It was a little, which was quite marshy. Some beaches. I watched the sunset. Yeah, it was quite majestic. Open forests. All kinds of things. The ocean, and there's boats, and yeah, definitely seems to be a little less emphasis on like aquatic warfare though. But I mean, that could be just different parts of the game too, right? Like there definitely seems to be a lot of boats moving around and stuff. But I'm not sure we're going to see kind of the large scale like pirate type boat stuff. But I don't know. We'll have to wait because like it's just a glimpse into the game. A very, very specific glimpse, but they were very generous and confident about this game because they allowed me to see so much of it, which was surprising. Like, this is one of the more in-depth, hands-on that Ubisoft has offered over the years. It's like, I didn't even really realize it till I was actually going into it. I was like, oh, this is my day, which is kind of funny. Yeah, I liked also, as I was mentioning, story and narrative in this one. I feel like I've stumbled into a plot where there's a lot of conspiracy theories going on, and well, a lot of conspiracies, I guess, right? Like in terms of your characters are trying to, do certain things, and there's about the stabilization of the region. It's a time where there's a lot of conflict going on and a lot of chaos. The characters both have different reasons for why they are approaching this sort of scenario, why they are working somewhat together, what their goals are, obviously. And, it's going to be really interesting to see that kind of style. Like, he's obviously a lot tougher and ready to attack and fight, whereas it looks like Naomi there, she's embracing more of the traditional Creed, especially with weapons and technique. And it's intriguing, the two characters, how it kind of like plays off, and what they kind of bring to the table. It's interesting to have multiple protagonists in Creed. I'm curious if this is going to be something that like grows. And I say like playable protagonists, really, I should. And I'm wondering if this is something that's going to grow in future entries where we're like actually seeing multiple perspectives with different styles of combat kind of working towards goals. I think that'll be quite intriguing. But yeah, I was really, really genuinely impressed by the gameplay and stuff like that. Like, it does feel like another Creed. It really does. Can you take me higher, I guess, but it does feel like that, but it feels like there is a lot more polish, a lot more focus, a lot more scale. Genuinely, it seems like an improvement and a bump up over the other types of RPG Creed that we've seen. So I think people are going to feel quite refreshed by how different this is. It's going to feel familiar for you intense Creed fans, as it should, but it does feel like they are attempting to do some new stuff with Assassin's Creed. They are attempting to do something a little bit more distinct, and I think they're kind of nailing it for the most part. Like, it is very aesthetically appealing. It's got some cool combat and style to it. I am really curious about it. My only things were kind of like, again, I was a bit lost in what I was doing, but I think that's just because I wasn't playing on the guided mode. I'm just so used to these Assassin's Creed games just literally telling you, like, just in general, the Ubisoft games just being like, go here, do this, do this, do this. And that's just kind of how I play them. I'm not used to them having such a level of narrative and storytelling as a focus during these missions. And then on top of that being like, you kind of have a bit of an opening for doing certain things in certain ways, and I thought that was really quite, I don't know, refreshing. Like, I think they've done a little bit of that too recently, but it was like, kind of just be like, okay, just tell me where I'm going. It's like some of the audio cues from the characters were kind of like, it made me confused as to where I was, and then, yeah, just as Naomi, I felt like I just could not Creed kill like normal, but we'll have to see how that all kind of plays out in the full game. I would say I'm really, really excited about this one. It was kind of an awesome battle. I saw some beautiful stuff. I'm going to be moving towards non-commentary gameplay, so you can just see more of that in action. But I highly recommend watching the bit at the end where the guy kind of pulls out a note from somewhere, and it was just a really funny laugh. And it seems like they're offering a lot to the structure of the stories and the gameplay, and I had a good time playing through this. They definitely seem like they are really, really focused and locked in on this one, and I'm looking forward to covering the full release when that happens in the not too distant future.
Reconstruction. A way to help the people make sense of their suffering.
Your father cares for other people.
He had a hard childhood. I don't think he had anyone caring for him back then.
I hid him to keep him safe until my business was completed. But you complicated things. I cannot have what I want as long as Hashiba Hideyoshi and Kuroda Kanbei both live. And you.
I promised my father I would kill you and your friends.
Goodbye now.
I have to tell Lord Kanbei about this. You look like a friend. Hello there. I don't know whether Lord Kanbei is a genius or a fool. I'll lead. Wait for me at the Honmaru. I cannot trust what I see, but rather what is concealed. No servants would carry a tanto, concealed or otherwise. That one won't be a problem anymore. I'll clear out Naoya's men surrounding the meeting area. Can you stand watch here?
I will meet you at the meeting area when you are finished.
There will be more of them.
The enemy is below us. I will end you quickly.
No matter. I am not to be disturbed in the Tenshu. There is one thing I have left to do.
Yes, my lord.
The path to the Tenshu will be guarded.
Yasuke, it'll be quicker if I go.
I saw the look of a man ready to die. What happens next is up to you, Naoe.
Window. I'm in. Next, I must find Lord Naoye.
Lord Naoye.
Just as I did when I was his age. I should have read this earlier. One last...
Yasuke, let me do this.
My son. My life for his. In all my lives.
Thank you. I will honor him.
Tokube, you're quite naked.
It's you! From the Renkakai. Who sent you here? What do you want with me?
Calm down. I just want to ask you some questions.
Questions, you say? Fine, fine. Let's go outside and talk about it. Give up! You'll never catch me! Come on, deal me in. I still have my life, no matter how little it's worth now. No more. I can't run anymore. What do you want from me?
I told you, just questions. What happened at the Rengakai?
I left it all down to cover my ass in case things got bad.
Go back to Himeji Castle. My ally Yasuke and I might need a friendly face inside.
Oh, and maybe I'll check on my wife. Oh, maybe not. Oh, she's going to kill me. And I have you to thank for that. My ass in case things got bad.
Go back to Himeji Castle. My ally